where dreams collide. Sarah's voice a gentle guide through the realms of time and space. She takes us to a sacred place.
Can you tell me, can you look deep into what's going on with the drones? Can you tell me what's happening with these drones?
I'm seeing something here. As you were expressing, these images were already coming to me, that there was like ripples of water kind of coming up around an object in the ocean, or I don't know if it's another body of water. And it looks like some of these drones have like waterproofing around them, and they're actually hiding even in our water systems. And these are it looks like there's some alien technology to these, that they were created by humans. And it looks like they're just being used for purposes that weren't initially supposed to with this technology. So there's a lot of like spying on people. They're trying to get an understanding, and again, I put in quotations, it's this group that we've talked about in the past. Get an understanding, like truly, of the human mind to the best capabilities we can. And it's linking this way that the brain thinks and the thought patterns back with the development of AI, and using some of that information to make these AI technologies even more advanced and mimic the human population as best as possibly can.
So, okay, so this technology is like reverse engineered, then it's like alien technology, but humans are doing this.
Exactly.
Okay. And with the purpose of trying to understand the human mind. Can you tell me more about the purpose of it?
Trying to understand the human mind, but the connection to the human emotion. So it's that connection that's really important, because you can more easily input things into a computer AI technology that mimics the mind, but it's harder to mimic the mind emotion connection. And so they're really honing in on that piece to make these AI technologies as realistic to humans as possible.
So what is the purpose of all of these drones then right now? Is there any significance to why there's so many and people are seeing them all over? I just have a whole bunch of questions, but why are people seeing them right now, and why in the locations where they are?
So I'm hearing that things are just becoming more frantic. And again, we're talking about the slipping of control from these individuals on the human population as a whole. And one way that they're going to try to control humans moving forward is through this AI technology. But they want to make this seem, they're going to do this in a way that sometimes humans aren't going to know if they are speaking to AI technology or interacting with AI. They want it to replicate the human so much that they're going to be able to use these to infiltrate the human race. And so the reason that these are popping up so frequently and in so many places is because they're starting to, I'm seeing them scramble. It's like, oh no, we're losing a bit of a grasp on this power that we had. People are awakening. There's more and more, like even we were talking to Sarah tonight about her partner and the work that he's doing. People are awakening, and more of this is becoming part of consciousness and more common knowledge than it ever has before. And so they want to get a hold on this, is what I'm seeing. And so they're really trying to, as quickly as they possibly can, sort of hammer out the final finer details of this AI technology. And so there's drones all over at the moment trying to, again, like I said, try to understand the decision-making process of a human mind and how that connects to human emotion, whether it be anger, sadness, happiness, jealousy, any of those, to be able to make those inputs into AI technology be as plentiful as possible.
And what kind of technology are we talking about? Like, what are they hoping to accomplish?
So I'm sensing one of the things that is still really prevalent in society as a whole, especially here in Western civilization. I'm seeing Asia actually has this too, not so much in some of our European counterparts countries, but here is a real sense of isolation and loneliness. And so that's one area that they can take advantage of because people are feeling so lonely and isolated. And that's why the drug epidemic, one of the major pieces is has become so prevalent is because people don't have the social connections and social supports that we used to have back in the day. And so by having AI technology be so human-like, they can, whether it be in a robot that actually looks like human or just a voice over a phone or someone on a video call that can replicate a human so closely that these individuals think they're actually talking to a human. This is how they're going to be able to sort of take advantage of these people and be able to manipulate them and try again to have power over them. And like I said, they feel the power slipping, but this is one of the ways that they're going to be able to infiltrate our population and harness some of that control again before they feel like it slips away from them too quickly.
What would it look like? Like, what could people look out for? I mean, how could people, understanding this, not fall victim to it?
So it's almost like the idea, with the credit card scams and the fake phone calls, it's just so sad because you have to be diligent and aware to even protect yourself now. That way, even something that you're scanning on social media, like these videos that are coming up that look very much like a human person, they're still glitchy. Like this technology is close to being there, but isn't 100% there in every way. And some of the people that are using it are using the more fine-tuned pieces of it, I guess. So at this point, you may be able to see some of the glitches still, but as I'm saying, saying this, they're like, be careful, Crystal. Actually, that's not the full picture because there are individuals that are higher in power, that have more of the resources, that already have this AI technology so fine-tuned, but they, like I said, they're just adding these finishing touches. So in the end, it's going to get harder and harder and harder. And what they're telling me is that that just means that the white lights in our society have to amp things up. And so we need to be more socially supportive of people. We need to form real connections with one another. Like get outside and meet your neighbors is what they're telling me. Because with those interactions, if you have that connection with like a real life human, there's going to be something inside of you, like an intuition, I guess, that will tell you when you're meeting an AI person. Your spidey senses are going to go up. It's going to be hard to tell. But if these individuals who are feeling very depressed and sad and socially isolated connect with these technologies, they're not going to have that intuition per se because it's already going to be so repressed and depressed. And they're just going to latch on to the idea or the concept that someone, is there for them in this way that they're going to miss the signs.
What will they do to these type of people? Like, what kind of manipulation would they do so that people understand?
So it looks like it can be like it can be something very small, or it can be something broad. So they can do anything, like as small as convincing someone to do like a robbery of a store, or in their social circle, and that sort of sounds contradictory just to what I said because they don't necessarily have the social circles like we on this call might, but they still have some sort of influence, even if it's with the person that they're getting drugs from, or if they're socially isolated and not doing drugs, but they get a grocery delivery, or anyone that they come into contact with, they might have them try to engage in conversations with those individuals that to try to spread their messaging and their agenda, and just start planting seeds is what I'm seeing of like an alternative messaging to those of us that are trying to seek the light and seek ascension. And we've talked about the political sphere before, and things can spread like wildfire now in the time of social media. And so someone that's really alone and socially isolated can get behind their computer and spread this messaging that they may have planted a seed about. And then it can go more broad. Like I'm seeing they can start an army with these people, because these people are almost going to become slaves to this AI technology and the people behind it, because they're going to become so embedded with that messaging, because again, they're going to feel almost saved by these individuals. And so whatever they tell them to do, they're going to be on board and be willing to do that. So I'm hearing it's almost like they're building an army, and it's an army of these real humans along with this AI technology. And it's something we've never seen before.
Wow, okay. And is there a reason why this is happening right now, like before the new president in the United States, or does it have absolutely nothing to do with that?
It does have something to do with that, but it's not so much him. Like I hate to say this, but they're kind of saying like he's a bit of a dummy, and they don't mean that like unintelligent. They mean like pulling strings. Like he's easily manipulated too. And so they're showing me he's like a puppet. Like when I say dummy, like I guess like almost like a ventriloquist puppy or dummy. Like they're using him to spread the message that they want to and create some form of divisiveness. But they're like, it almost didn't matter. It could have been him. It could have been Kamala. It truly didn't matter who got in power, because they have the right people in the right positions and the ability to influence any of those people at this point. And so they're pulling the strings. And what seems to be happening is he's such a character that it is a somewhat beneficial thing to have him in this role for them, because he plays the part so well, they're telling me. And so they are, because he almost comes across I guess so irrational, and makes these really like quick decisions, that they're going to be able to speedily move along their agenda like never before. And people will just kind of, it's almost like they're shrugging their shoulders and saying like, well, what did you expect? Like, of course this was going to happen with him. And they're almost turning not a blind eye, but their backs to it. And they're almost just letting it happen, because they feel some of the people that don't support him or that party feel, I'm seeing like their shoulders kind of sinking, and they just feel deflated. And they're just like, I'm turning my back on this. Like I did what I could to prevent this. It didn't happen. But what they're not recognizing is that if they were supporters of Kamala, the same thing would have happened. It would just been a different messaging or a way of showing that message up into the world. But these people in power, like I said, had the right people in place. This was going to go forward anyways. It's part of what I'm seeing in the grand scheme of the evolution of the human species. This had to happen anyways.
Why does it have to happen? Like, what is it? What is this whole grand scheme? Like, what is really happening right now?
So they're showing me back to World War II and all of the incredible people that did a lot to try and protect and save people then. They're showing me something that's relevant to me, which is the Underground Railroad, and all of those times in humanity where, opposition to light tried to rule the earth. And that in times like that, it forces the white lights or the people sitting on the fence, like we've talked about in the past, that are more in the middle, to pick a side. And a lot of them end up moving into that white light sphere. And our lights end up shining brighter than ever, because we have to try to oppose this dark force and these dark entities. And so by doing that and stepping forward and not being fence sitters, because there's a lot of really beautiful white lighted souls in this on this planet, that, don't do a lot with the gifts, sit in their house and are able to sort of imprint their energies on the world in a great way. Like not every white light has to do something grandiose, but we're not stepping forth into our powers in a way that can have mass effect. And typically, when these sort of events happen, we're forced to, and we band together. And by showing up, it's like we're taking our masks off too. And some of those are masks just of apathy. And we're taking them off and we're stepping into our powers. And they're all diverse and wonderful and great. And AI has their powers and we have ours. And so it's kind of like, watch out. Like, you can do everything you're doing, but watch what we can do when we meld our energies and our minds together as well.
Like, so who exactly is behind all this on the dark side or, whatever? Because are they humans or are they like kind of AI or is there a different force?
So hearing that I'm seeing and hearing there's a reptilian type force that is working with human individuals. And this is a partnership that has been going on for quite some time. Like, I'm talking probably like really, really concretely for 150 to 200 years. And like the birth of the Industrial Revolution, that was kind of it. That partnership really started to blossom, I guess, for them to the detriment of humans. They've implemented so many things that have been harmful to us as a species, but those individuals are working together and they both have some similar agendas, but also some different ones. And they're interestingly enough internally a little bit wary of each other, but they get so much more done together that they're working together currently. But at some point, I see that they both have this plan that they want to sort of take the other down once they start to see more of this come to fruition. But I'm also seeing in the end that they're just going to actually, it's almost like they're going to implode. But that's all down the road. They're going to be doing their thing for a while here.
So right now with everything happening, the drones and everything, what does it look like is happening like right now? Like what does it look like the effect of all these drones and stuff will be for the people right now?
Well, it's so invasive. And so I think that once this comes to light, people are just going to feel like their personal space and their privacy has been just completely invaded, and that the powers of people in power, that they've abused them and they've taken advantage of people in a way that they never should have. And that is all true. They shouldn't have. So your private conversations aren't private. Things you're doing in your own home are not private. Like, even people that have a farm and are out taking care of their animals and the way that they interact, sometimes they, have bought these properties to get away from it all. They're not away from it at all. They're being watched. And so there's just going to be this sense of complete violation. And it's a horrible feeling, but again, it's going to push people to choose a path. Like, are you going to be so outraged that you're going to band together, like I said, with the white lights? Or is there something inside of you that's like, well, no, I kind of understand that, and maybe spread the messaging that they want you to. But I'm feeling like when I say that most people are going to be really upset. And so in some ways it's going to have a counter effect on them because again, it's going to open some people to the spirit inside them that says, hold on a second, everything I've believed to be true, the way that I thought the government cared for me or had my best interests at heart, they don't. And we know that often to be true, those of us on this call, but there's still a lot of people that aren't awakened to that fact. And so that is going to start happening too and push some more people to step into their powers and start questioning things.
And looking at it from the very higher perspective, what would you, if you could give advice to people understanding this, and you said to make a choice and to connect with this white light, what would you suggest looking at like how we could use this to our benefit in some sense?
They're saying to me that two can play this game. And so they're trying to use these drones, like I said, to better understand the mind emotion connection. But once we start spreading the message that this is what's happening, we can temper those emotions. And so, we are emotional beings, but it's almost like, again, they're showing me back in the day, like spies in the war and how they were one way before the war started and they had to put on a persona and pretend they were something else to sort of infiltrate the ranks or spread messages or help people escape. That is a way that we can sort of counteract some of what they're trying to do, is not let them see the mind emotion connection as clearly. And they're talking about just getting a hold of the way that we show emotion. And they're not telling us to repress it, but just maybe not display it in the same way we have. And that would prevent them from really being able to sort of hone in on what they're trying to, and they won't as accurately be able to implement that into AI.
But don't they already know how the human emotion works if these reptilians are working with a type of human? Like, couldn't they just use the people that they have?
They can, and they are, but they're saying that that is one of the most special and unique things about people, human beings, and this earth, is that emotion that we display is so varied and nuanced and really dependent upon each individual, that you can get a baseline of how people react, but you have to have a really broad spectrum because people react so differently. Like I say, they react in a nuanced way. So if you're saying you're putting people into like maybe like 5 categories, so if the mind thinks this emotionally, that's how they're going to react. People are going to start picking up that something isn't quite right. And so they have to have as many inputs as possible because humans have so many ways of displaying emotions. And they're even saying to me, because I met with my doctor today to talk about hormone replacement therapy, because I had just thought maybe I'll give it a try. I had been on it like 10 years ago, and I started to have like crazy mood swings within 5 days and like depressive thoughts. And that is just not me. So like, this is not good for me. I'm not going to do this. But they just are trying to show like, even within myself, like 5 days ago, I reacted X way when something happened. And then just going on these hormones, I completely shifted the way I was reacting to situations. So even within myself, there's so many nuances and so many inputs to be captured. And so they need a really broad sampling.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Um, and some people speculate that there are weapons that they are, testing or just getting you know, some of the drones are weaponized. Is this correct or is this just not correct?
It's correct. And they're also showing me that they want to know where our weapons are. And so an example that they're showing me is, I don't know how it works in the US, but in Canada, they want us to register if you live on a property with like some land and you have a well, they want you to register with the government that you have this well. And there's a lot of thought behind it. That is because water has become such a precious resource and they want to know where the access to water is. And what they're doing now with these drones is when they're invading our properties and our homes and our conversations, is they want to get a better understanding of where our weapons are. And it's sort of that idea of taking up arms like against these individuals. And they're like trying to get a better sense of what they're up against. Because even with the gun registries, they know that not everyone has registered their guns. There's like ways to get weapons without like divulging your name, et cetera, et cetera. So they're trying to get a better understanding about where some of their most problematic areas could be. So that's something to watch for as well.
Okay, and some people speculate that the drones are actually can shoot out like lasers. Is that correct or is that not correct?
I'm seeing that this technology is still in the works. So I'm hearing yes, but they're still finessing that piece of weaponry, but we can expect that that is going to be figured out shortly. It's already in the works, and that yes, that will be something that will be possible.
Okay, so what can people really do? Like, yes, they're supposed to band together, um, and I guess more groups where like-minded people can get together, but wouldn't they know about these like situations if they're doing so much surveillance? I mean, like what can people do knowing this? And I have another question after that that kind of goes with that.
You bet. So, one of our other readings, I think we talked about the download of information to individuals, and this is going to start happening too. And on the other side, they're showing we are here to support you. Don't forget that you're not alone. And where things seem hopeful, like there's always hope. And, again, you can look at that through the various altercations and wars that you've had on this earth and see how people have overcome or fought back and found creative ways to circumvent things. And so they're showing me even back, I think again, it was World War II, where there were decoding messaging systems that were figured out and technologies implemented that had never even existed before the war began. And so they'll be there to help us to download information and help us come up with ways to counteract what they're doing.
Oh, awesome. Okay, and is there anything people need to do to start receiving these type of downloads or anything like that?
Just be open to it. And like I said, when they do these downloads, they do download the same message to several people because they know that some will either just think, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And what am I thinking? Brush it aside. Some people are, like I said, we're like apathetic or don't feel like they have the resources to implement that. So they do download the same message to many people, but they're saying if more people could listen to those messages and more people, on the planet in different places could start, implementing the knowledge that's given, that even reinforces and exponentially would help the cause. So just to be more trusting, I guess they're saying that the messages are coming from within. And again, they're talking about grounding and giving yourself some quiet time in your mind so that those messages can come in and you can blur out sort of the outside noise.
Okay. It's really, really helpful. Okay. Um, some people see like orbs following these drones. Can you tell me about that? What's happening with that?
Oh my gosh. So I just got a big smile on my face because they're like saying, that's us. When we're telling you like not to fear that we are here, so that is us. And so they may be watching you, but we are watching them. So again, it goes back to the same two can play at this game and they're not alone in what they're doing. So they're coming at it from their angle, but we on the other side are aware of this and we're watching it too. And when we say we, it's like we have our own alien people here on Earth that just hover right in your sphere and they are watching. They're closely watching. Spirit is watching. Angels are watching. Other planetary beings from other planets in the universe are watching. And so they're like not they're not alone and they think that they're so covert and they're covert primarily to the humans on this earth but not to our supports on the other side.
I love it. Okay, and some people speculate that there will be some sort of disastrous event happening soon. I mean, it's people are predicting like 12 days or something.
So
Is
when
any
you said that, the immediate thing that came to me was the tensions between Ukraine and Russia, that something there is going to get astronomically worse than it has already been. And it's going to force leaders in the world to start taking sides. And so it's going to be sort of a tipping point in regards to how we start moving forward. And again, it sort of allows maybe some more of these sort of AI technological things to get involved because people are going to start feeling like a little bit defeated and like why hasn't that been fixed? It had already been going on for so long, and now it's got worse. It's starting to spread. We have to get involved now, and it looks like something in that sphere maybe what causes that is the reasoning for what you've been hearing.
And what about our event, our workshop in February? Does it look like that will happen? Can you tell me more insight on it and how it looks like this will be?
I'm hearing that it's going to happen because, it takes a while for things to catch up to us, they're saying. So again, even though the world is small, places like, Russia and Ukraine feel so far away. And it takes a while for our involvement to become clear, and what that picture will look like doesn't necessarily, it's not going to impact us. But it's more of a ripple effect they're showing me, like in the water that ripples outwards. And we're far enough away from it in February to be able to go ahead with our retreat. And I'm just hearing like, it's like, snap, we're so excited. Like, you go, girls. Like, we're so excited you're doing this. And like, that is what they're showing me needs to happen more often. Like, we need to get together and pull people out of their sort of like whatever state they're in and have them awaken. And by doing these things and awakening those energies inside these individuals, it's so wonderful. And they're showing me that people are just like so surprised. They're like, Sarah's coming to Arkansas? Like, question, like, I can't believe this. Like, people are like, I never thought she'd come over here. And it's just like this excitement. And they're showing me like sometimes it's just great to do more like random places because they're missed. Like, it can't all be Egypt. It can't all be like, the stone circles in England. Like, there are people that are waiting to be awakened in areas that aren't tapped on as frequently, but they're open and willing and waiting. And so, it's like if you go there, the Field of Dreams movie kind of idea, like they will come. So
Oh, amazing. Oh, I'm so glad. Do they have any advice for that workshop that we're going to do in February?
they say don't spread yourself too thin. They're like, you two get together and your minds are like, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this, we could do they're just saying, make sure you don't spread yourself too thin because you have to take care of your own spirit as well. But they're saying something about that. There's a sunroom there, and they're saying we should spend a lot of time in there if we can because the rays of sun, or like, even if it's a cloudy day, you're going to get the energy of that in the morning. The moon is still kind of hiding out there. You're going to get the energy of the moon to work really a lot in that room if we can. And then they love the idea of spending time as a group around the fire. They're like, there's something so bonding. They're showing me right now. I see you sitting there with your book in front of you, Sarah. You're reading to the group. They're like, you could even, oh, I just got goosebumps. They're like, you could even have Megan read her part and Sarah read a part, and you two could go back and forth and read a part from the book that you did together. They're saying thank you to Sarah for ordering the rice paper to throw in the fire, and that fire release ceremony is going to be so impactful for them. And just sitting there with their cup of cocoa, that like the whole retreat's going to be amazing, but that specific part is going to be something that everyone's going to remember because the energy in that room with the fire going and everyone cuddled in really close, that just the something about that energy and that moment of the retreat is going to be what they walk away with in their minds.
Oh my God, I cannot wait. I can't wait to see who joins our retreat. This is going to be so exciting to find out. Um, okay. I don't want to keep you too long. Do you have any other messages of anything that that Megan needs to understand? Actually, can you do body scan? Can you scan Megan's body and look deep into her body and see how her body is doing?
So her body is doing, we're saying, like, wow, like she has seen great improvements in her health. Her inflammation has reduced, her stress levels have reduced since she's separated from her husband. But her family came to her house this weekend to celebrate an early Christmas. And so, definitely she was off track with her eating, and she, had some gluten, she had some wine, and those aren't things that she normally incorporates into her diet. And so we're just, encouraging her to get back to her roots. And she already started that when they left this afternoon. And just showing her that as she continues to build on those building blocks of eating in her light and the way that, resounds for her spirit and her body, that she's going to just see exponential changes. Things are just going to happen really, really quickly as far as improvements in her health and the sort of body composition that she currently holds.
Okay. Great. Can you send healing to her though? Can you give her a little jump start since she's listening to you and she's gotten those messages? Can you just flood her with some healing and just start this process?
Yeah, so even when she started the session with you, she had a bit of a headache behind her left eye, and we're resolving that now. We're putting some things in place to make so that she has a really good restorative sleep. And then we're doing some work to already decrease some of the inflammation that built up over the weekend. And these things should put her in a good starting point to get back into the path that she had been on before her family arrived.
Does she need hormone replacement? Why is she feeling kind of off? And what's the very root cause of that?
No, she should not go on hormone replacement therapy. Her background as a nurse, she knows all of the risks and the benefits. And the benefits really are that it just makes you feel better, but it is a band-aid, it's a steroid. She knows what it is. It's not actually addressing the problem. It's just covering up the symptoms. And so what she needs to do are all of the things discussed in the past. She has to be very careful with what she puts into her body. She has to get her body moving. What's happening is internally, there's bacteria and parasitic bugs that are sort of like winning. We're saying in quotations, they're winning. And we need to put her in the position where she's in charge again and she's in the winning position. But right now, just really truly because of the stresses that she has had over the past year, especially with her ex and the way that she wasn't nourishing her body, she had just really allowed those pathogens to take over. And they do, they're opportunistic. And so she doesn't need HRT. What she really needs to do is just lean more into healthy eating, body movement, grounding and protecting, and all of those sort of modalities that she's aware of. Those things together will help to heal her. And it is a process that takes longer. And, it's not an instant fix like we get with these medications. Like you could go on HRT and some people feel better that day. But again, it's because it's a steroid. So doing these other things and implementing these practices, it's a longer term thing. And so it's sort of the message, like we said earlier, in regards to humanity. It's the same for her. Like, don't lose hope. You have the tools, and we are here to support you.
Okay. Well, since she got that message, can you go ahead um and start this process of healing her? And also, can I ask a question? Knowing her and what advice would you give her so that, I mean, I know you gave her all those things that she could do, but what would be the number one thing that she could do that would really change like her life and she would feel happy like pretty quickly?
Diet. Number one, eat less, drink more. And we mean not alcohol. We don't mean coffee. We mean water, infused herbal tea. Limit the caffeine. Don't eat as much as you have been in the past. And the reason for that is it gives your digestion and that whole system a chance to sort of start healing. When you eat, there's a lot of benefits if you eat healthy to those foods you to pull out a lot of nutrients from them, etc. But it still is something that the body has to, and we're saying in quotations, deal with. But if you eat lighter foods and drink a lot of fluids, gives the body a bit of a break, and it can sort of allow the body to heal and start sort of they're showing me again a war now. It's like we can get ready to gather our forces to go on the attack and fight off these pathogens. But before we're dealing with all of the stress and all of like, even this weekend, the foods that you put into the body that you did, it makes everything harder. So eat lighter, give your body a bit of a break, drink a lot of fluids that are healing teas, etc. And that would be the biggest kickstarter.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. This is my last question. You hear everyone talk about timelines. Are there people that do not experience this AI thing with the drones? Are there people that don't experience this at all? And if you are someone that sees these drones, is there something you're doing wrong? Or are you on a certain timeline that other people who have accomplished a certain level in their spirituality are not experiencing this?
You have to do more with the role that you're going to play in this. And so some people, you're right, are more ascended and they don't need to see these to have this awakening, but they're still going to be involved in the process because they're going to be supports and backup to the individuals who are going to start awakening. And so they're showing me like a block. Like, so some of these people that are starting to see the drones in the past, they may not have heard the message of these people who have a bit more understanding of the spiritual realm and the ways of the universe. But as they start to awake, those supports and those messages from those individuals are going to be able to be better received. So they might not see them, but they still have a role in the awakening and the shift that these drones are going to create.
Well, that's so funny. That's what my client today said. So that's really
Ah!
interesting. Okay, wow. All right. Do you have any final messages at all for Megan?
So we're sort of waving our finger at her and in a humorous way. She does respond well to humor, and we're just showing her, stop doing this. Like, Crystal, Megan, no, because she actually at one point was going to reach out to you and say, do you think that we're not getting enough people signing up for our online event because my energy is like somehow bringing this down? And like, you probably just, you've done so well on your own. And we're saying, like, oh my goodness, like, stop. Like, your energy is wonderful. Sarah's energy is wonderful. So we told you together, your two energies are wonderful. And that, this is a nice, gentle first event for her to be part of. And whoever is supposed to show up shows up. And it doesn't have to be grandiose numbers all the time. And that, no, there's nothing that she's doing that is bringing, in quotations, the event down. And just to not self doubt her gifts and to step into those powers.
I love it. I love it. I was thinking the same thing that it's probably easier with a softer first one. And then I bet it will just feed upon itself and be bigger and bigger and bigger each time after people talk about how cool this is.
That is exactly what it is. And we showed her when we started, as you were bringing her down, and she was wondering, oh, what is it going to be today? Because we were showing her a ripple. And again, there's always sort of something that we show her at the beginning that is a theme through your entire reading. And it kind of, we will end the reading with that. That's exactly what you said, Sarah, that these type of events and these type of experiences will ripple outwards. And so you're throwing the stone in together with this first event, and that ripple will spread and spread and spread, and it's going to gain momentum and become bigger as you continue to work together.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so very much for everything. Do you have a final message for me about anything?
Yes, we do. We're just seeing you become more and more prevalent on social media, and we want you to continue that because it is such a wonderful platform for spreading messages. And like we talked about with AI and how they're going to use it, you need to use it for what you're spreading as well. And so at the beginning of the session, you're having conversations about even setting timers. We don't want it to be exhausting. None of this should take energy from you. It should bring energy towards you. And so find those shortcuts and ways that you can use technology to your advantage without creating you to feel more tired or exhausted. And just like the ripple we show Crystal, the more and more you put yourself out there, and the more you have a better understanding of how the technologies work and how to post your stories and how to maybe sometimes, do it in certain way, like compile the messages in certain ways, your following within the world is just going to start to exponentially grow.
Why me? There's nothing special about me. I'm just like, I don't receive these downloads and I drink too much matcha.
Now we're shaking our finger at you and saying there's so many special things about you, and never to say those things. You are so gifted and you are open, and the way that you interact with others, even just the tone of your voice is enough to make people feel differently about themselves when they are in your sphere of influence. And you are meant to be on the path that you are. And just because you're doing this doesn't mean that someone else isn't going to be gifted in another area. Everyone has their gifts, and you are special, and this is what you are meant to do. And so step into it and never feel that way.